Hello and welcome to Simuldub Saints, your guide to seasonal anime dubs. I'm your host, Laserkid, and with me as always is...
Hello, I am Archangel, lover of cat girls.
You've been listening to our theme song, Wherever I Go, from friend of the podcast, Ampren. Please check out their awesome music, link in the description. And we're here today to talk about something that we wish had a dub. Dun dun dun! It's a twist! There's no dub for this show.
Yeah, what we were originally going to talk about this week, our guest had to bump 1 week, so we just decided we wanted to talk about this for a while, and the theme of this week is, for a change, we're going to just talk about something we want to talk about, a couple things actually. And you heard us bang on in a previous episode about Monster and how we did not like that show to the point of feeling it did not deserve a dub. And so we're going to talk about the show that we both think should have been dubbed in its place.
Absolutely, although this will probably be a recurring segment every once in a while, because there are shows out there that don't have dubs that really ought to have dubs. And I've made the running joke that I really want Orphan and Legend of the Galactic Heroes to get dubbed. Because they have dubs, but then they stop midway. And it's like, no, finish your dub. No! That's not the only kind of
You
stuff
must finish your work, Carl.
Yes. But there are other shows that don't have any dub, and a lot of good ones that I really wish did. And I imagine that's the case for a lot of people who are fans of dubs, not just us. So that is what we're going to talk about today.
Tell you that our episode today has been sponsored by Nanotrace Incorporation. More on them at the end.
All right. Thank you to them. But first, before we get into our topic, there's actually a surprisingly large amount of news today. Also, although it'll pass by the time you hear this, happy Memorial Day to everyone. Thank you to all who have served. We get to have these fun conversations and wonderful podcasts because of the people that serve and protect us. So, thank you to everyone out there who has served for us.
Amen.
But to the news. I missed the previous announcement for this, so for me, this was a shocker as a whole. But the Eminence in Shadow movie, yeah, you heard me right, Eminence in Shadow movie, Lost Echoes, the trailer release. Unfortunately, there was no subtitles on this trailer, but looks rather interesting. We have what I could tell, mad scientist teacher doing magical formula, and now he's just an eye. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Something happened to him while he was lecturing on magic.
Yep.
But the question is, how long ago was this? Is my question.
That is a very good question. He was using a whiteboard, so I don't know.
Was he?
Yes, he absolutely was.
Okay. I didn't notice that. Yeah, we'll see, but it's more of our favorite ding dong.
Nah, Eminence of Shadow is a good time over in High Dive. I just really hope they dub this. High Dive has not had the best track record of dubbing movies based on shows that they have dubbed. So I really hope they do, because this looks to be continuing, not just a recap. Like there was a Ya Boy Kong Ming movie that came out, but that was just a recap movie, and they did not dub that, for example.
That's a little more understandable. But yes, particularly if this is plot relevant. And I think Eminence in Shadow gained a decent following.
Right? Eminence in Shadow broke their record. Right. Eminence in Shadow is the only time, for season 2, the only time High Dive has done a day and date dub. Usually they're a season behind.
Okay,
season
so
2,
if
they were day and date.
Yeah, that sort of metric would probably get through to even an executive's brain. So
yeah, I one would certainly hope.
Yeah, numbers matter for things like that.
Numbers matter. Speaking of numbers mattering, MASHLE season 3 confirmed. Let's go.
Okay.
You and your MASHLE Ks.
It works, doesn't it?
It does. But
we have realized that MASHLE is Goku who has been forced to use hair gel. It's even referenced in the intro.
Goku who likes cream puffs.
Goku likes cream puffs, right? I mean not to the way that MASHLE does. But he likes sweets.
I mean,
he likes sweets.
Goku likes indiscriminate.
Fair enough. Okay. I stand corrected.
But the big one, we've known this was coming. Oshi no Ko Season 2 key visuals released. Trailer was released. This trailer did have subtitles, and wow, like we're going to be competing for movie roles or something. Go figure. And we have a release date. The return of Oshi no Ko. July 3rd.
Sucker for stories like this.
Oh, Oshi no Ko blew up.
Yeah.
Similar to Eminence Shadow blowing up, Oshi no Ko also blew up for High Dive. I cannot promise it will get a day and date or even the same season dub for Oshi no Ko, but if Eminence Shadow is anything to go by, it seems likely that they may focus on the season 2 dub pretty quick. But if they don't, we'll get it the next season, guaranteed. Oshi no Ko was a huge hit for them. And our last piece of news is the Misfit of Demon King Academy Season 2 Core 2's dub return, May 24th. I know, Ark, you have not seen Misfit of Demon King Academy. I've seen the entirety of Season 1. I have watched like the first couple episodes of the first core Season 2. It's a fun, silly little show. And I'm glad to see that the dub's continuing, especially given the production problems the core show has had. It's good to see that it's still going off and kicking off with a proper release dub and everything. And that is our news. And so now it's time to show off our appraisal skill to rise in the world.
So, do you want to start with the summarization or shall I?
I'm going to let you take this one, actually.
Okay, so it's isekai, although that's very much not the focus. It's really just an excuse to make the main character unnaturally precocious, I think.
Yeah, this is one of those isekai that it's an isekai but doesn't really need to be.
I think I understand why they did it, especially because, okay, so the premise is Salaryman gets truculent, if I recall correctly.
He absolutely did.
And so he's reincarnated as a child as one Ars Lovent, who's the firstborn son to Lord, I'm sure I get it, Lord Raven Lovent, who is a relatively minor lord in one of several territories of a nominal empire that is kind of falling to bits around everybody. So, think when the central control erodes and all of the regional people start vying for power.
The problem specifically is that the emperor went and died, and the next one is still a child, so it's nominally being run by their retainers who are having infighting because, of course, they frickin' are.
Yeah, so it's a multipolar regency that is extremely, almost openly disunited, and like I said, the whole empire is going to bits. There's numerous historical examples. I'm sure anyone who cares can think of a dozen off the top of their head. And for those of you who don't care, I will not bore you.
I can think of 2 specifics, but yeah.
Yeah. So the point is that hard times are coming, and the father very much knows this, and he is someone who actually started as a commoner and was eventually made a lord through pure merit and battlefield skill, and he is a badass in every sense of the word, like a real badass, not over the top.
He's
fictional badass.
He's got his shit put together. He's very down to earth, but he's also open to listen and see things for himself. He's not stuck in his own head, which I really love that about that character.
Yeah, his mind is open but not gaping. And give you my favorite example of that when we talk about Miss Charlotte. But so ours is born with, and remind me, okay, are special abilities like this explicitly, they're not unknown, right?
It's not unknown from what I recall, but there's certainly none like this.
Right. So ours has, as far as we know, unique skill, which is he terms appraisal, as you might expect. So he can look at somebody and see numerical values of what they're good at and how good, and also basic traits like how ambitious they are, how clever they are in terms of adaptability, how diplomatic they are, and also, do you have the potential? He's seeing potentials as well as how much they've grown into that potential. So, for example, he might see this person is, a 90 out of 95, which means they have the potential to be world class and they're pretty much already there. Or 5 out of 95 means you have all the potential in the world, but you haven't started developing it yet. And the low event territory, they need skilled people. And he, listening to his father, listening to his mother, realizes this and decides he's going to see if he can find the people they need. Because he himself, while he's certainly competent, is a boy and later a man of great character. He's not exceptional in and of himself, except for this skill. And I think that's the beauty of this story is it's really almost an essay on management and leadership, where you don't need to be exceptional at whatever it is. You need to know how to lead, and you need to have an eye for talent and know how to manage those people.
What's
And
fun
he's
is
very good at that.
the first time we really see this is within an existing soldier who's like, I'm a spearman. Arrow people, those are cowards. They fight from afar. Oh yeah, by the way,
Mhm.
you're actually really good with bow and arrow. I am?
Yeah, give it a try. And he hits pretty much a bullseye on the first time, and he's like, well, maybe archery isn't so bad. Because he kind of plateaued as a spearman, and he was getting a little frustrated. And
Mhm.
this is like a 4 or 5-year-old saying, hey, why don't you just try the bow and arrow? And so basically he does it just because ours is giving him puppy eyes.
Yeah. But that's the first time it really shows itself to the world. And so Father Raven knows he's got this ability to recognize. Well, he doesn't know it's an ability. Ours wisely keeps that close to the vest, but he's like, "Hey, you can recognize talent. All right, cool." And this will help him as he goes along because it keeps happening.
Yep. So his first find, so to speak, is a young man named Reese Muses, who is very much down and out. Essentially, he was a former mercenary, and he is a member of a. Well, think how to put this
It's a
succinctly.
He's from a different race than the continent's main people. He's from a different. He's what's called a Malkin. They're
Yeah,
from overseas.
yeah. Which this country doesn't seem to be like overtly, horribly racist per se, but it's kind of like imagine if an entire population, there have been again historical examples of this even in recent times where entire population has been displaced and is now refugees, and refugees do what they need to do to survive and tend to get a bad reputation with some
I wouldn't say the
deserved,
whole
some
place
not.
is entirely racist, but there's definitely some racism towards Malkins.
It's about normal. But the point is, it's not just because he does have darker skin. It's nothing. It's not about that. It's because the Malcan people are seen as almost like historically the way the Romani, the Gypsies, were seen
That was
in
also
Europe
a
as
racism, dude.
well, yes, but there was it was stereotype leading to truth, truth leading to stereotype. It was a vicious cycle historically with that, as far as
That's
from what little I
still
know.
racism.
Right. So it's very. I don't want to make it sound like this country is xenophobic, but let's just
They
say
kind of are,
in the case of
though.
this particular, it's this particular group that has earned itself a bad reputation because they had no other choice. Is my point. But the point is here that nobody's willing to take a chance on this guy. This I think is what, like 16 at this point, 15, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And no one's willing to take a chance on him because he is a Malkin. And he's just living hand to mouth on the streets, on the verge of starving to death. But he has his pride. And this little kid asking him, will you be my retainer? He's like, what are you talking about, kid? No. And so after ours eventually convinces him to come back with him,
Hey, I can get you a
everyone's
free meal.
right. And everybody, not least Raven, his father, are extremely skeptical. Ours says this guy has the potential to be as good a swordsman as you are, father. And Raven's like, okay.
Prove it.
Tosses the kid a wooden trading sword, reads, and says, let's go. If you can stand against me for 3 minutes, you can
And if
stay.
you can touch me within 3 minutes, like, hit him.
Yeah, and he does.
He got his hair, but that was enough
That
for
counts.
Raven. Raven counted it. He also, a lot of the people watching, like, wow, even when he goes easy on us, we can't keep up like this, and he's not going easy on us.
This guy is, in the physical sense, in terms of combat, he is a combat monster in every sense of the word. When he gets serious, he is just unstoppable on the battlefield, much less one-on-one. As he grows into it, and he is, because of how far ours went for him, he has developed, quite unlike all the people we're to talk about become very loyal to ours, he is fanatic loyal on a personal
For
level.
those of you that have gone beyond the anime and started reading Ascendance of the Bookworm, this is the Harmut.
Very much so, yes. I would say it's drawing on the more extreme examples of what a samurai was supposed to be in theory, in terms of loyalty to his lord. You so much as insult ours, and he's going to try and stab.
That's why I was comparing it to Harmut. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
Reese is incredibly personally loyal to ours. It's not, I'm loyal to ours, the Lord. I'm loyal to ours because he helped me out. I mean, yes, that is the case, but no, this guy, ours is not just his Lord. It's still, I would almost go as far as to say it's almost like his God.
Certainly his raison d'etre. Yeah. All right. So next up is Miss Charlotte Rice, or Rice. And actually, we haven't been naming voice actors. Do we want to go back and do that?
Sure.
And
Ours,
let's do it because this is how it's listed. Let's do it Japanese style, just to make it less confusing for us.
okay.
So last name, first name, essentially, just so people know. That's how it's listed on this page, and we're gonna be
Yeah, so ours movement is by Fujiwara Natsumi.
Mhm.
Then Ritz is by Bon Taito.
Yep. And Raven is by Tuchi Hiroki.
As a normally dubbed person, I know some Japanese seiyuu, but only a few, and I don't recognize any of these people, but I'm sure they're pretty well out there. And actually, I'm smart. I can click on this. The Japanese seiyuu for Damien Desmond in Spy Family. That's our main character here. So there's that.
So very much as a lady doing a young boy's voice, and she's quite good at it.
Indeed.
All right, so a lady doing a lady's voice, Kaho Naru for Miss Charlotte Rice.
Bon
Taito.
Taito. See, he is, wow, Soyuz in Dr. Stone. That's cool. He's also most recently well known for Sung Jin-woo in the Japanese version of Solo Leveling. So that's our fun attendant. And then, of course, for Reese, which is Hahu Narumi.
Right, Reese or Rice, I forget which is her last name.
She's in Your Boy Kongming as Futaba. I think that's oh yeah, it's Nanami's friend, calm and kind girl. Not exactly a major character, but a character nonetheless. And hey, Your Boy Kongming is under watch. Go watch Your Boy Kongming. But that's who we've got so far. But anyway, continue with the fun story of Charlotte.
Okay.
Charlotte would be the first name in the game.
So yes, and so she is, if anything, even more down and out than Reese. Reese is in that she's not only living hand to mouth on the streets, but she's got some younger kids who she's like 12, I think, at this point, and she's got some younger kids who are at least partly dependent on her, and she's all mixed up with some slavers who are trying to get a hold of her because she is quite a pretty lady.
I will say, for how slavery is normally depicted in these isekai, this one actually seems to get it pretty well, respectively. These guys are creeps. They're making money off of other people. They're selling to nobles. Shocker. But we don't make excuses for it. I love that.
Indeed. So I'm leaving out all the twists and turns of how they deal with that. Ours, with Reetz's considerable help, manages to negotiate Charlotte's release. and with a combination of muscle and money.
A lesser isekai would have had him buying her and then using her as a slave. He buys her and is like, do what you want, but I'd love to have you.
Yep.
Thank you!
Which is not as easy a decision for her as you might think, because she has even more of a stiff neck in a way than Reese did. She's a very proud person, and she doesn't believe that she has any potential or worth for anything. So when Ars is telling her out of nowhere,
you have magic power.
She's like, "What the bleep are you talking about?
I've never messed with magic in my life."
We'll
do it. Here you go.
Yeah, well, they take her up. She's like, I want to. Will you come with me to this place where I see the city? It's her favorite place. And they're like, look, take this thing, say this phrase, and if we're right, then you'll cast a spell. And then not, will tell us. And so she does it, and she does the incantation for an elementary fire spell, and produces, thankfully, up in the air, a fireball large enough to alarm everybody in the town, except the kids who think it's fireworks.
Casting Dragon Slave.
It's not that big, but it's definitely one of Lena's fireworks. Literally, in terms of both what it is and the sun. It's huge.
Yeah, it's big, yes.
And she breaks the focus thing, because it's not meant for that level of power. And she's like, okay, I'll come with you. Why not? And so when they get home, Raven sees this 12-year-old girl who's still, dirty.
Women and children do not belong on the battlefield.
Right. And then Reese just hands her another focus, and she turns around and casts it up in the air. And you see
his eyes go, oh shit.
Yeah, and then I think it's actually a card flip transition to him shaking her head. Welcome. Raven is, like I said, his mind is open, but not gaping.
Is amazing. One of the best characters straight up in this whole show. I don't think we've actually talked about Raven's perspective.
Actually, no, we did not. And so I named him, but we didn't talk about it.
Oshi Hiroki. He's Baldrov in Black Butler, one of the assistant guys. Yeah, that's not a huge role, but it's relevant to us.
Oh yeah.
Yunho Baek in Solo Leveling. That's Mr. Red Hair guy. Dragon Ball Z red hair. I don't know how else to describe that. Golem in Ragna Crimson. That's definitely that's a big one for me. Oh God, he's Heiter in Freerun. That's
okay.
A big one.
Yeah, that's a very distinguished actor there.
Indeed. I mean, I'm skipping over a lot of these credits. It's like, okay, I don't know that one, or that's not a huge one people recognize. Yeah, we are complete noobs to the Japanese voice acting scene. I know about some Seiyu, some of the big ones I know, but like I don't think I'm gonna recognize any of these people personally. But that doesn't mean they haven't done great work, and clearly they have. I will say they're doing a damn good job of conveying the emotion, which fits because when you watch an anime subtitled, what I've noticed the effect on me is I'll hear the Japanese voice and I'll read the subtitles, but when I think about it, I hear the Japanese voice speaking the lines of dialogue I read in English. And this is not just this show. That's just kind of how it's worked for me in general with subtitled anime.
My brain doesn't do that, but the emotion in the voice definitely comes through.
But yeah, no, Raven is a great character, and he's just like, yeah, okay, you know what you're doing, got it.
So I don't think we didn't need to spend too much time, but another point that we should note for the record that we forgot to mention so far is that Sophia Loven, who is both R's mother and I think we haven't talked about the twins yet, but I think she's their mother as well.
Definitely their mother as well, yeah.
Yeah, she died shortly after having the twins, and who we'll talk about in a bit. So the mother is out of the picture.
Kawasumi Ayako, which another one we're watching sub, so actually you and I'll recognize. She's Lucrezia in Unnamed Memory. It's another one we might talk about at some point. Although we have to watch more than one episode for that one. We're kind of behind.
All right. So, yeah, Charlotte fits right in and really blossoms and her tutelage and having a purpose in life, and is still very much involved with the other kids.
She's
from
paying
that city.
most of her money that she earns, and she does earn money as a retainer. She does get money, but most of it goes to those kids who, spoiler alert for a little bit later on, we later learned, yeah, no, ours built an orphanage for them and other kids in that area. They're being very well taken care of.
And, like, in turn, they're going to be great contributors to society because they are all motivated and they all have ideas of what they want to do, which is just win all the way around.
Absolutely.
And we should probably mention that Reese and Charlotte, as they get older, they both develop names and nicknames for themselves far beyond the local fief. They are known.
They are famous for their exploits on the battlefield. We've mentioned the Empire's crackling, but the specific is the region that they're in. The Lord is getting very, very old, and he has two sons. The elder, which would normally be the obvious choice, but then the younger, who is actually quite skilled and well regarded. It looked like it was going to be younger, but then the elder also started stepping it up, and of course now they're coming to blows. On his deathbed, the statesman is like, "Yeah, I'm naming the elder," but the younger accused the older of forging that. So there's politics all over that.
All very standard stuff.
Yes, but it's something that we should enumerate. This is going on in the background.
And so, higher level lords within this region and from neighboring regions are either taking advantage of the situation or backing one or the other.
The neighboring regions
to support the young.
To be like, oh, you're weakening? Haha, we'll take some land. Guys, you're all technically all one empire. You're not supposed to do that, I'm pretty sure.
So basically, Raven is a vassal to this other guy. What was his name? And basically, where he goes,
yeah,
we go.
Well,
we don't
ours
really
made a comparison. Effectively, the entire empire is like, say, the United States. Then the regions we're talking about, where we're having, the Lord and his kids, that would be a state, and then you have like counties, and that would be what ours family. The Leuven would be like Leuven County.
So yeah, they report to Lumiere Pyres.
Actually, no. Lumient would be the county. They're like a city in the county, so they don't even get to choose. The Lumiere chooses, and they just go with.
Yeah.
Lumiere though seems like he's got his head on pretty well straight, in my opinion.
And at that note, there's two other notable vassals, Kral Orslo and Hammond Plead, who are respectively a very older but still very much have it together dude who seems like just a nice old dude on the surface, but he's got layers to him, you could tell. And
we'll hold off on Hammond because we're gonna definitely talk about him in a little minute.
You're right. Yeah, we should. We'll
come back to that. But we should talk about the next of ours people, Russell Kirsha. Russell is the son of a lumberjack, and his brothers are lumberjacks. He is not a lumberjack. He's a bookworm. He's a smarty. He's not a strongy. He really just doesn't quite know how to prove himself. And
to give you an idea of just how smart this kid is, his mother would read him bedtime stories, and after she tragically passed away, he would look. Yeah, he would, just by having it read to him a couple times and then looking at the characters on the page, he taught himself to read.
Yeah. That's incredible. Also, as a quick side note, the voice actress here is Okasaki Miho, who, what I can tell, the biggest thing here is Rimuru Tempest and Reese line. Just a minor role, really.
Yeah, you may have heard it.
You may have heard. But Russell does manage to prove himself to his father with the assistance of ours, who's immediately like, "You're a genius. Please come join me. No, I don't want to be a soldier." Completely missing the point, but also because
and throughout all of this, nobody explains to him that not all retainers fight directly. But anyway,
it gets figured out.
Right, but It's just, but no one ever really, at least that I recalled, no one, because I was looking for it, no one ever actually explained it to him.
Not directly. He figured it out. It was more demonstrated than directly stated. I mean, it's like, hey, you want to come read in my library? And yes, he does. He manages, though, to prove that he was father. He's smart. He agrees to go with ours eventually, but he wants to prove to his dad that he's capable. But he also doesn't want to leave his dad stuck, so he creates a trap for the beast, so that it's easier for his dad to capture and butcher the beast. But it also lets the young ones out, so that they continue to grow and the population doesn't.
And he uses these herbs to keep
The mothers away.
pregnant ones away.
Smart kid, really smart kid.
Oh yeah.
He's got a inferiority complex though, and he believes that he's been blamed for his mother's death, who died after he was born. And his father kind of gets mad at him and yells at him, but it turns out he actually blames himself for not recognizing Russell's abilities, and he never blamed Russell for his mother's death. He blamed himself. And Russell gets over here all of it. So they have a tearful, happy farewell as Russell.
Best family.
Oh, I love the family. It's beautiful. He also makes a name for himself by being a master strategist in the battlefield. Even though he's not really any older than ours. From what I can tell, they're about the same age, or maybe ours might be a little older.
So far we have his 3 core retainers, and then ours 4th main ally, this is my favorite character, is not technically his retainer, is at this point fiance.
Yes.
Who is young lady Licia played. It's played by Hanazawa Kana. In high style, might I add. This is coming from me, who's not too good at picking up Japanese emotions, because I don't really speak the language or know the culture. But even I could tell she's, at least more than the average voice, the way she does her acting has an emotional impact on
Demon
me.
Slayer fans, this is Kanroji, one of the Hashira in Demon Slayer. Also, Shimi Moriyama in Blue Exorcist, another major role. In other words, this lady knows what she's doing. You don't know either of those personally, or I can assure you those are both major roles.
Okay. Well, this young lady also very much knows what she's doing, the character. And she is the daughter of Hammond played, who is one of, again, Raven's fellow lords. And so, of course, she and ours, being of an age, have been betrothed. And she goes into this thinking, okay, she's been brought up in an area where there's a lot of noble fuckery and backstabbing and just horribleness. She's seen the worst that noble society can offer. And so she has decided if she wants any sort of happiness, she needs to learn how to play the game, even if only to get out of it. And she's become very, very good at it, because her talent is for diplomacy, and she also has a frighteningly high, like it literally frightens ours, how high her ambition score is. And so the first time they're coming to meet, she's coming for a visit, and her thought going into this is, okay, let's see what this fiance of mine is like. And she tells him later, if you'd been some sort of clod or a jerk or something, I would have done anything I need to do to get out of it. But she finds herself actually falling in love with him, because this domain is very nice, and it's clear that ours has a very good attitude, and everybody really respects and loves him, and for good reason. And she decides, yes, this is someone I want to spend my life with. This is a family I want to join. And so she is all in now. And she is, in a way, on the broad scale, she is probably the most dangerous person we've met.
She's actually so dangerous that initially ours is terrified of.
Right. Because this is the sort of person who can do a real broad scale damage if she chooses to, because she is good at diplomacy and interpersonal stuff, and she can hit people where it hurts. If she chose to. In fact, she has been doing everything she can to support ours. Um, like I said, she is all in, and ours is now. I think he's basically trusting her unconditionally at this point, as he should.
He is, and I'd say that although this was initially an arranged marriage, I think there's real love between the two of them at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean they're still pretty young, but there's certainly puppy love between them, and this is going to be not just an arranged marriage. This is going to be a love match that people will write songs about. I could also say from seeing how she interacts with the kids at the orphanage and stuff, she's going to be the best mom.
Yeah, I can say that. Things get to a head though, because Raven is actually deathly ill.
Before we get into that, just real quick, we should also mention that we mentioned earlier Sophia Loven, ours mother, passed away shortly after giving birth to twins, a boy and a girl. So that would be Kreitz and Ren, boy and the girl respectively, Loven, who are ours little brother and sister. And they are quite talented potentially as well.
We don't really
forget the specifics,
see much about them other than they exist, though. So.
Right, but it was very clearly established that they have a lot of potential in their own right.
Yes,
in different ways. I forget specifically, but they're going to be important going forward.
Absolutely.
Is the point. So we haven't gotten there yet, but they will be important, I'm sure.
I tend to agree, but there's not much more to say about them than we already have.
So let us return back to the subject of Raven-sama.
So Raven is deathly ill. This leads Ars to step up his game. It's also depressing him, something that Leisha notices both in the tone and frequency of his letters. He's trying his best to keep up. He goes and meets with Lumiere in place of Raven because Raven's really sick. He does this without telling Raven. When Raven figures it out, he's actually says, "Hey, attaboy."
And also, while he does, of course, have Charlotte and Reese with him, he actually impresses the hell out of the three lords he's meeting with, I think.
That seems to be the case, yes. Although initially Hammond is rather upset because you're upsetting my dear daughter Alicia. What have you done?
Yeah, he's being, kind of a meet the parents type of thing, but it becomes very clear that he loves Alicia very much and is worried for her.
Absolutely.
Because he is very aware that she's seen some shit politically and socially growing up, and he's worried about the effect it's had on her.
Indeed. But things come to a head when a major battle comes up, and Ars is determined to lead the battle himself. Raven's not having any of that, though, and it's like, you haven't seen death. You're not ready for this. Let me prove it to you. We have an execution that we need to do. And he executes the prisoner in front of Ars, who understandably can't quite handle it and has a very understandable reaction. And Raven says it was the same for me, too. That's the first time I've seen death for anybody, but that proves you're not ready for this battlefield.
It's one of the more realistic depictions of a normal, healthy human reaction to that I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, they definitely captured that pretty well, I would say.
To the point where it's, Ars is freaking out, trying to process, and I'm saying, okay, we'll tell you this, without any rancor. I'm not making fun of it, but I'm just saying, mostly to myself, bark or puke. What's it? Barf or faint? What's it going to be?
Yeah, technically neither, but it's close and damn near enough.
He puked.
But yeah, Raven takes charge of that battle, and it is successful. And he does come back, but his health is worsened. So much so that Alicia is actually makes her own appearance, and she is brought in to meet with him on her own, and they actually do have a meeting. It turns out he met her when she was much, much younger, and he was impressed by her just being a good person that he wanted. That's why that arranged marriage was made in the first. And then Raven and Ars have a all-night conversation, effectively, father to son, before he passed. And I should note, the very first scene of this whole show is the funeral for Raven. We've known this was coming the whole time. And this brings us full circle into Raven's funeral. And ow. It's a common thing for an anime protagonist to have one parent and or no parents. Parents die quickly. I was very impressed that we got to know Raven before they killed him. Because that made it hit all the harder it did pass. We knew he was going to. Didn't matter. We got to know him very well.
All of this, all the interpersonal reactions and the way the characters think, the way they behave is so plausible, so real, and so not just well handled but tastefully handled. This needs a motherfucking dub.
It
Crunchyroll,
really
please.
Really
please.
It actually still could. Campfire Cooking got a dub a couple of seasons after it ran. There's always a chance. And Crunchyroll, please. This absolutely deserves a dub.
You have a hit on your hands. You just need to make it.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. I mean, the fact that we're watching this sub should tell you everything. We're mostly dub people over here, but you know, I have a tendency to try shows subbed anyway just to see what's out there, and this one stuck.
We're talking about this for quite a while before we finally got around to it.
I watched the first 3 episodes on my own, basically up through Charlotte's introduction. And it caught my attention that far in, and I'm like, you gotta see this, you gotta see this, you gotta see this.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you're enjoying it as much as you are, because it's really good.
No, this is definitely my kind of show.
I know. Following Raven's death, ours takes up the lordship of Leuven. And we've talked about much of what happens after that already. We had the funeral, we have the meeting with Lumiere, the second time where he absolutely holds his own and is recognized as such. But that meeting is because a nearby region is refusing to let them pass through. But it would be really easy for them to destroy that nation. Or not nation, but the state, the city. Mm-hmm. So why are they resisting? Because they would know that too. Ours wants to research this rather than immediately going into attack. Something going on. Something ain't right about this, and they respect that and let ours research this. Of course, ours wasn't the first one to think this was fishy. That goes to Ross. But ours trusts Russell on this one. And he is given the time to research. And they decide they're going to contact the Phantom. These great, crazy group of people who do work as spies.
Primarily spying and so forth, but apparently they occasionally branch into assassination. Yes, but it's definitely more the Thieves Guild than the Assassins Guild, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely. Well, we make contact through a contact from Reese's mercenary days. And, well, things immediately get complicated because ours recognizes the leader on site because, of course, he does. The skill recognition.
And he's not good at hiding his reactions, so...
No, and so...
Pretty much everybody at the table, including the leader, realizes that he's been recognized.
Goes by the name Fam, who was pretending to be a waitress, notices that got noticed.
Waiter. He's wearing shorts, so
anyway. Pretends to be female, though.
Oh, right, yeah. We should mention, played by Tomatsu Haruka. So, played by
a who voices Tiara Royal Ivy in Most Heretical Last Boss Queen. That's
Holy
a pretty
shit.
good one.
Okay, yeah.
Not the main character of that, but her sister.
Yeah. Small role.
A small role at all. But yeah, Fam's like, yeah, how did you notice? And ours actually tells Fam, yeah, I have this ability. Fam does not believe him. And then ours name drops their birth name to them. They can see it. So I'm like, okay, that's not my name anymore, but okay, I believe you now.
Yeah, and this is all mixed up with, at first, Fam asking at knife point, and then Reese barges in and then Alicia comes in and
yeah, it gets complicated quickly.
It's a negotiation. You know how
aggressive negotiation. Jedi.
Yep.
Yeah, that's quite a setup that they end up going through. And
I don't think we mentioned Fam's apparent whole thing, and this is their his reputation, at this organization, that the leader will only take jobs that interest him, quote unquote. And let's just say he finds ours very interesting.
Indeed, he actually does agree to take the job. Apparently, it will only take 5 days. So, and that is where we've left off. I gotta say, this show is really impressive. I love the interpersonal character dynamics. It really works. People feel very real, like we said. The plot is realistic as heck. Like, all of this makes perfect sense for the world that they're in and the situation they're in. It's just so well done. If you haven't already, go watch it.
Yep. And again, we've said this before, but just to make our position absolutely clear, Crunchyroll
dub this. Please dub this. I would love to see what a dub would do to this show. It would take a show that I consider to be really good and make it even better.
It would blow up. I'm 99% sure.
It probably already is. I don't have my eye on subtitle side of the anime fandom as much, but I imagine it's already pretty popular.
But, so
yeah, that's our topic for today.
Indeed. So let's wrap up by talking about our sponsor. Now, I'm going to actually break character for this because usually it's a fictional corporation from something. It's a throwaway joke, basically, that we do. So Nanotrace Incorporation is also a fictional entity. And just to be clear, what I'm about to talk about, there is no money involved. Okay. There is, in fact, nobody, as far as I know, that you can pay in any way for this. It's an open source community project. And so Nanotracing is the fictional company that all the players work for in a game called Space Station 14, which is the spiritual successor. It's actually almost a direct port of a 20-plus-year-old game that is still going very strong, still very active, called Space Station 13, which is it's the most influential game and the best game you have never heard of. It is it's sometimes summarized as a multiplayer disaster simulator or a space station role-playing simulator, or there's no easy way to describe it, and I'm not going to waste 10 minutes of your time trying to explain the game, but I'm going to try and tell you just enough to whet your interest here. So basically, Space Station 14 is the exact same concept, modern code base. It's currently being developed, all volunteer. If you want to get it, first of all, before I forget, go on Steam, Space Station 14 playtest. You will technically have to apply for the playtest. It will be granted instantly. It's free. Start with one of the Wizard's Den servers, at least if you speak English. There's servers in all different languages. That is the main branch and the best place to learn. So you play a character up to potentially 80 characters on a server. You're on a space station, and this is all 2D sprite-based, top-down. And the space station is systems driven. There's the air, there's the electricity, there's the this, there's the that, and the systems all interact and work independently in real time. And so everybody has a job, whether you're just a passenger hanging out, whether you're a captain, to an engineer, to a doctor, to a scientist, to the monkey that works the bar. No, I'm not kidding. And you all have your jobs, but then sometimes some players will have other things they need to do that they shouldn't be doing, but it's called being an antagonist, or sometimes they'll be antagonists.
So this is like a really complicated game of Among Us.
It is almost certain. I don't know this for a fact, but Among Us was directly inspired by Space Station 13, and it's sort of a very, I don't want to say watered down. It's a very focused aspect of one specific element of this game, but there's so many different elements of this game. Every department, every job is its own mini game, its own skill set, which you can pick up. It works on an apprenticeship system. Every department has learning roles. So, for example, my department, engineering, I'm an engineer. You join as a technical assistant, and when you show up as a TA, it's like, "Hello, how much do you know?" And if the answer is nothing, it's like, "Okay, you're going to go with so and so, and they're going to teach you, and they will start explaining stuff." And you learn how to be an engineer. And also, there's no such thing as winning or losing in this game. I mean, technically, there's objectives and stuff. Nobody cares about that. It's all about fun, or at least there's some tryhards who care about that. But it's all about having fun, interacting, and it's LARPing, it's tabletop role playing, it's System Shock, BioShock type, systems driven gameplay environment. It's improv comedy. It's so many different things all rolled into one. It's completely free. It's an amazing community. There is nothing else like this in existence that I'm aware of. Come join us, give it a try. It is so much fun. Shout out to all the regulars on Wisda and Vulture, which is the server that I play mainly. And yeah, I could talk about this for hours. LK can vouch for that.
Yes,
but
he can.
But I'm going to shut up now. Because nobody's actually paying me, so
no, we have not received a dime from these guys.
Yeah, there's as far as I know,
we joke about sponsors. We don't have any sponsors, not really.
Yeah, because there's all these different servers, and they're all independently run. So you can probably help people with their server costs, I guess. But there's no developers as such. It's an open source project. And there's all these different forks. So every server you go to, will have its own spin on things, its own way of doing things, which is interesting. I mean, in Space Station 13, one of the most famous forks is called Aliens Colonial Marines, which not the or just Colonial Marines. It's not that stupid. Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, someone made
evidence. He can keep going.
Somebody on the old game, somebody made the best Aliens game in existence off of this entirely unrelated code base. Anyway. I'm gonna shut up now.
I was teasing you, but I'm like, I thought we were done, but now you're going off.
Space is the place. Come join us.
All right. So our Ark really, really, really wanted to hawk Space Station 14 because he really enjoys it. One of these days I'll play it.
And this is the episode where it makes sense, where we're talking about something because we want to talk about it, and that's why I'm doing it now.
So yeah, we our running joke, our sponsor, of course.
Yep. So thank you to Nanotrace Incorporation for sponsoring this video.
Totally sponsored, you guys. Totally. All right. Well, so Ark, outside of Oscar the Grouch's trash can, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me in Vulture sector of the Wizard's Den thing. So yeah, no, if you need to contact me, contact LK, but I don't do social media.
That actually is probably the best place to find you. Like, for real.
Yeah. No, I go out of my way to be non-contactable, except for work, which is its own thing. And yeah.
All right. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at LaserKidPrime. Allegedly can find me on Blue Sky at LaserKid. I am there, but I don't check my Blue Sky nearly often enough. You can also find me over on Toonami Faithful. We have an episode coming out. We had a very long conversation with Jose Argumento, previous Faithful podcaster as well, but he also got involved in the remastering of IGPX for the upcoming Blu-ray release, which will be up before we release this. It's coming out this Monday, so actually it's out today. As we speak, it's out now, if you can find it. But quite a story on that remastering process, so definitely check that 2.5-hour podcast out for Toonami Faithful when that comes out. Lots of really fascinating information on how someone goes about finding old footage, getting it cleaned up and remastered. Lots of interesting information there. Definitely check that out.
I think I will.
Yeah, no, actually, Eric, you probably get a kick out of it.
Yeah, send me a link.
I will. Other than that, you can find the Simuldub Saints over on Twitter at Simuldub Saints. There is a Facebook group for Simuldub Saints. And depending on where you're listening to this, our main home is YouTube. We've also been reaching out through audio podcasts through Spotify and several connected other services that I can push that RSS feed out onto. So check us out wherever you're at. YouTube is the main one because I put in visual gags. I'm a silly person. But if you prefer audio podcasts, we're out there too. That about does it for this Simuldub Saints. Until next time.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day. I cut down trees, I eat my lunch, I go to the lavatory. On Wednesday I go shopping and have buttered scones for tea. He cuts down trees, he eats his lunch, he goes to the lavatory. On Wednesday he goes shopping and has buttered scones for tea. He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day. I cut down trees, I skip and jump. I like to press wildflowers. I put on women's clothing and hang around in bars. He cuts down trees, he skips and jumps.